Welcome back, Vol fans. We're going to try something a little different today. I'm short-handed here. No Tim today. Couldn't make it, so I'm going to try to shoot this solo and see how this goes. Hopefully it'll go well. Haven't done very many of these, so. All right. First of all, I'm going to say we got a big, deep dive of Oklahoma. We had one before. We're going to tell you what we know now. We spent probably a good portion of our life last week or two, and then some digging into Oklahoma, checking out everything we could possibly check out, listening to people that know a lot more about football than we do, and reading and everything else. So we'll give you a good idea of what to expect with that Oklahoma game. Any kind of interesting stats or anything like that. So if you want to sound maybe intelligent at your game party, whatever, tune in. But we'll do that here in a few days. Today's episode, though, we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about Tennessee, surprise, surprise, as we always do, of course. Also going to talk about the conference in general. See what, let's say, any surprise teams, good or bad, and how that affects Tennessee. I know, we've talked about the playoff. That's a big deal. We're looking at that. But going into the season, we had an idea of, whose schedules was tough, whose was easy. But given the information we've gotten 2 weeks in, what schedules are harder now, what schedules are easier, how that affects Tennessee, and so on. But biggest surprise so far of the conference probably has to be Arkansas. Beat Arkansas Pine Bluff, destroyed them, had 687 yards total offense. That's a massive number. What's surprising, though, is week 2, they play Oklahoma State and put up 648 yards to 385 and lost. I'm going to say that one more time. Arkansas put up 648 yards total offense. Oklahoma State had 385. Arkansas lost the ball game. I don't know if I've ever seen that happen before. That's crazy. That kind of yardage disparity. I mean, you're going to have 4 or 5 turnovers difference probably, but they only had like a 2 turnover difference. But it looks like Arkansas is for real. Now, how does that affect Tennessee? We play them here in a very short amount of time. We do have a bye week before them. It's at Arkansas, which is concerning. But we do have a bye week before. It makes me feel a lot better about the game. Gives you extra time to prepare, extra time to get healed up. I mean, we're always through the season getting a little banged up. Time to get some freshmen and people like Buchard or more practice reps to get them prepared, for the stretch run here. So that's a little concerning on the Tennessee front. But they also play LSU, which is another team that could possibly be vying for a playoff spot, even though I think they're on the outside looking in. They got them home. They play Ole Miss home. They play Texas home, and then they play Missouri at Missouri. All those matter not a lot because, like I was saying with the playoffs, as me and Tim's mentioned multiple times, probably getting 4 teams in from the SEC. Okay? 5 could get in. Very unlikely. I mean, there's some things that would have to happen. Notre Dame would have to lose probably 2 more games. Their schedule's very weak. I'd proceed 4. Okay, 5 possible, 6 is impossible, I believe. Okay, but so why that's important is if there's 4 teams getting in, let's go ahead and say Georgia, Texas, probably in. I mean, I'm going to say right now, 85-90% chance they're in. So who's left? You've got 2 spots left, and you've got LSU, like I said, not likely. Ole Miss, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Tennessee vying for 2 spots. 5 teams vying for 2 spots. That's tight. Now, I do think LSU is probably less likely. So let's say it's 4 teams. That's still tough. So Arkansas plays Ole Miss, Missouri, Tennessee. They could definitely be a spoiler. I don't see them being good enough to get in the playoff. I could see them being good enough to be a spoiler, though. Another team, similar situation, that's been a surprise so far, South Carolina. Uh, they demolished Kentucky this past week. Man, their defensive line killed the line. Brock Vandegrift, the 5-star from Georgia, got 1 yard last week. I mean, that's crazy. So, but now LSU, South Carolina, they play LSU. They got Ole Miss home. They got Missouri home. Then they play Clemson away, which is another big game for us because we only want 1 team from the ACC getting in. Don't want 2. 2 teams keeps that down to 4. If you get 2 teams from the ACC, 2 teams from Big 12, you might even Notre Dame gets in. We're talking probably 3 SEC teams, probably maybe. You get lucky, you get 4 at that point. But you know, another team, if I mentioned a second ago was Oklahoma. Um, they could get hot. They're struggling a little bit right now. Don't want to dive into them too much because we're going to talk about them in our next episode. But the offensive line was a concern coming in. It's showing that it is a concern. They've had some injuries, but I will say this about Oklahoma: they've had a lot of injuries on the offensive line. Most of them are minor. They will be back. They need some cohesion on that unit. Quarterback play is going to get better throughout the year. It's kind of so-so right at the moment. Oklahoma's got a really good defense. Oklahoma's going to be better. I'm fairly confident. They could be really good at some point this year. Just hopefully not a week from Saturday. I hope they don't right the ship then, but I do think it will get righted at some point. So they could definitely be a spoiler. If they don't get it right, that's all they'll be, though, is a spoiler if they don't get things going pretty quick. That was on the bad side of things. As far as surprises for the league so far, Vanderbilt is 2-0. Yes, that is right. Just like the Arkansas yardage thing with Oklahoma State, we'll say that one more time. Vanderbilt is 2-0. I'm sure it's happened, but I don't remember it happening since I've been alive that Vanderbilt's been 2-0. So we'll see how they keep going. They're a decent team this year. They got some quarterback play. So we'll see how that goes. I don't expect them to be any challenge to Tennessee later in the year, though. We mentioned Kentucky being a surprise team. I thought they would be a pretty good team this year. I really did. I was but I didn't think they'd have that offensive line. The offensive line should not have been that bad. I know Mincy got hurt. That kind of hurt him quite a bit. Thought maybe, sooner or later they keep getting these transfer quarterbacks. Sooner or later you think one of them would work, Maybe not. Maybe not. And then you look at Bama, not surprised about these teams. Bama's Bama. They're loaded. You're not going I know they struggled against South Florida. They did last year too with Saban. So let's just see until they play a couple of SEC games and a couple that's probably Tennessee right in there. We won't really know what they are until then. Texas, they're really good. I'll also be kind of interested to see what they look like playing an ACC schedule, though. Georgia, unfortunately, Georgia's Georgia. They're loaded. They'll be vying for another national championship, unfortunately. But okay, let's talk about Tennessee for a minute. That's something I got to thinking. Me and Tim was talking, as we always do about Tennessee sports. One thing I thought was pretty interesting was, we've yet to give up an offensive touchdown through 2 weeks. We play Kent State this week. Really bad team. I really think we don't allow a touchdown this week. Could we be 3-0 not allowing a offensive touchdown. Then you play Oklahoma the next week. I know it's 2 weeks out. Tennessee fan, always looking ahead, of course. But Oklahoma only had 16 points against Houston. Um, and one of those touchdowns was a gift. Probably bad call by the refs, honestly. It was a punt. The guy, they said it touched the punt returner. I don't think it did, but it may have. I'm not sure. But Oklahoma covers a 10-yard line, scores on next play. Uh, they did not look good. Got outgained by Houston. They only have 16 points, and could Tennessee keep them from getting a touchdown? I think they'll be playing better at this point. I expect their offense to play a little better against Tulane this coming week. Is it possible? Yeah. Can you imagine being 4 games in, not giving up an offensive touchdown? I'm going to knock on wood here, so I don't, no jinx here. But looking good. Defense is looking outstanding, man. When you hear the defensive linemen talk about how rested up, how they're not even sore, like they feel like they hadn't even played a game. Uh, I see that defense, man. For our safeties, in particular, I think our corner's going to be all right. Nichols, our uh, linebackers, looking good. I think they're just going to get better as the season goes along, as long as Peely stays healthy. Man, our defense could be elite. I mean, we could be a better defensive team than offensive team. And a lot of SEC fans are going to struggle with that comment, but I think it's real. I think it's very real. Gets me excited, man. It gets me excited. This Tennessee can go as far as they want to go. Um, I'm pumped. Um, I'm thinking playoff. I'm saving some money. We'll see if we can get save my money for some Tennessee gear, some national championship gear. Hopefully you'll see me wearing it next after the football season on these podcasts. But with that being said, guys, remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Um, you know, if you don't hit it, don't do a whole lot of help on the subscription thing because they won't tell you that there's a video coming. Uh, Give me a comment there. Let me know uh, what you're thinking about all this. I find those comments interesting. Sometimes we learn something from them. So, with that being said, guys, go Vols, go Big Orange, and beat Kent State.